I wanted to tell you a little bit about me. A lot of you are my friends, so a lot of you know me. I consider myself a Wyoming native, even though when I was born, I was actually born in Denver. My mom went down to Denver to visit my grandmother, and I decided to come out. So I have to claim Denver as my place of birth, but pretty much raised here most of my life. I am the least of my brothers and sisters. I am one of 4 siblings. I didn't finish college. My mother suggested that I join the Air National Guard, my sister and I, when we were going to the University of Wyoming. And once I joined the National Guard, I loved it so much. I said, Mom, can I not go back to school and stay with the Guard? And I did that. I stayed with the National Guard for 22 and a half years and retired in Alaska and met my husband there. And when I retired, I went into the retired reserve, and 2020, I'll have 42 years in and I'll be done with my commitment. And I think that's my husband also served too. He's a 32 commitment. Yeah. So anyway, my husband and I, while in Alaska, we got involved in other people's campaigns for office, and when we moved to Virginia, we got involved with their other people's campaigns. And while attending a tea party here in Cheyenne, a friend of mine asked me, would you like to run for the State House? And I thought he was just joking, and when he said he wasn't, I went home and told my husband about it, and we decided to run for office here in Cheyenne. And I'd never run for office myself. And I just started reading the Founding Fathers, all those good documents, and learned so much. I just started knocking on doors and talking to people about the Constitution, talking to people about my religious views, and just a desire to do the right thing by people once I got into office. I ran in one of the most populated districts in the state, and I lost. And, but I was pretty proud about that. I was proud that we did it, and we did the best job we could. And then people kept asking, you gotta do it again, you gotta do it again. And that's something I encourage people. Don't just do it once. If you fail, get back up and do it again. So I ran again, and I won. I won with the second highest percentage in the state. And I was really proud of that. And I worked hard in the House and had to learn a lot. And like I was telling Chloe in the class this morning, she asked me, or this afternoon, what did I do? A lot of reading, a lot of listening, a lot of watching documentaries, and learning what the Founding Fathers envisioned for this nation, what the Founding Fathers envisioned for the state of Wyoming. So with all that behind me, I tried to do the best thing I could when I got into office. What I wanted to talk to you about today is how important not only the Constitution of the United States is, but the Wyoming Constitution. When you get into office, at least I did in 2013, they gave each of us a Wyoming Constitution. Then you can go down to the Secretary of State and request one of these. They're $2. And what really bothered me when I got in my first year was to see that this document was put in our inbox and some of the legislators, and that's where it stayed. No one ever opened it, no one ever used it to help them with their decision making. So this is mine. It's an old one, as you can see, but whenever it's updated or amended, I make any changes and put it in this one, because this one is like my Bible to me. Another document that I believe is very important for a legislator. You have your Bible to help you make the right decisions for the state, not just those that are good. Dennis Prager once said, he has this equation, GI minus W equals E. And he said, good intentions minus wisdom equals evil. So I try not to base my decisions on a good intention or what's right and what's just. So before I got in, when I was running in 2012, a friend of mine gave me this. This is like a, what do you call it? A commentary on the Wyoming Constitution. So she gave me this document, and while I was running for office, I started reading it. And what I did, in the front portion of it, I don't know if you can see it, but all these columns here, little teeny writing is where the legislature had a duty. And the more I read, the more I saw I had to do. And I got scared. And I went to the library, I got one of those little rooms, and I went before the Lord and I said, you know what? If you're not going to be with me in this situation, I don't want to win. And I won. So again, this book comes in very handy if any of you Constitution-minded people want to read a commentary of the Wyoming Constitution. What I've given you at your table is the Wyoming Constitution Declaration of Rights. This is Article 1 of the Wyoming Constitution. And I thought this was pretty unique and a wonderful document to have. And the Wyoming Liberty Group put this together. They're a libertarian group, but they're also a liberty-minded group. And they want as many people as they possibly can to get this document in their hands. And it may not seem so important, but when you look at it, it's kind of like our Bill of Rights in our U.S. Constitution. And what I did is I highlighted a few sections that I wanted to go over with you guys to kind of give you an idea how the founders who created our Wyoming Constitution, how they went a little further here in Wyoming to kind of strengthen some of our rights. If you look at section 1, 2, and 3, it talks about equality of all, equal political rights, and the power is inherent in the people. We have a lot of people that come to the legislature and they want to pass laws saying that they don't have rights and they want more rights, they want equal rights. And one of the things that I find is so unique for us legislators that know and love this document is we can take them to Article 1, Sections 1, 2, and 3 and say, our Wyoming Constitution already provides for that. You have those rights, so we don't need to make additional rights. And if you notice number 7, there's no absolute or arbitrary powers. That I thought was really important. And on the back, and this has been used here in Wyoming, we had a group of, is it the Wyoming, Y-Watch. They had some abortion-related flyers in the lobby between the Capitol and the Hirschler building, and some people took offense to those big posters. And somebody took them down, and Y-Watch decided they were going to sue, and they stood on this Article 1, Section 18. And also number 21, that the free exercise and enjoyment of religious profession and worship without discrimination or preference shall forever be granted in this state. And it's like, wow, even our U.S. Constitution, I don't think goes that far. And there's more that it says there. We also have the right to bear arms. We had, I think our concealed carry guy that pushed that bill, he used this particular article or section in Article 1, that the right of the citizens to bear arms in defense of themselves and the state shall not be denied, not may not, will not, but shall not be shall and may are really important words when we're talking about laws. So that's another one that's really important to have. Monopolies and perpetuities in number 30 are prohibited in this state. A lot of people don't know that. And sometimes people try to make laws that are into perpetuity, and it's against the Wyoming Constitution, so we have to be aware of that. One of the neatest things, I think, that number 37 says the Constitution of the United States is our supreme law of our land. Very, very important. And another issue I wanted to mention to you guys is the laws that we try to initiate during our joint sessions, people bringing bills to us. For instance, there's a big one going on, and I thought you guys should know about this, and that is, you've heard of the possible initiation of toll roads. Have you heard that? They want to put those on I-80? Well, at the committee meeting, I sat and I listened intently to the people who were trying to bring this on. It's going to cost millions of dollars, and they're going to divert a lot of traffic around Wyoming to try to get this done. It's going to take about 10 years. Memorandums of operation, they're going to need bond issues and the approval authority to approve that. But in this committee meeting of 13 people, when they were it's all said and done, I took them to our Wyoming Constitution, Article 3, Section 27 in that area says special and local laws are prohibited. The legislature shall not pass any local laws or special laws in any of these enumerated cases. There's about 27 of them. And down here about number 18, it says that the legislature is prohibited, let me see if I can find it here, from chartering or licensing ferries or bridges or toll roads. And I brought that up to their attention. I said, we can't make any laws on toll roads. We're going to have to amend the Constitution. And do you know that 7 of our legislators voted yes to push that through? It's kind of like, toss this in the background, we're not going to use it. And in another meeting, and it really surprised me, and I almost broke my heart because I am so constitutional minded. When I brought this up, they said, well, we have a way to get around that. And it's like, whoa, no, we don't want to ever do anything to get around these two documents. We want to honor them and respect them. And I have one more example here that I thought was awesome in the Wyoming Constitution. Something that you hear a lot, especially in the legislature, and that is, we can't legislate morality. You hear that a lot? Yeah, people tell us that all the time. Well, in Wyoming's Constitution, in Article 7, Section 20, it says, the duty of the legislature is to protect and promote health and morality of the people. It's there, and it tells us this. And this is actually the education section of our Constitution. I encourage you to get one of these and read it. It's small, it's a phenomenal document. And I wanted to mention one more thing I learned from a young lad who goes around or used to go around Wyoming and teach us the Constitution. And he was teaching us that as legislators, we should base our questions on whether a bill is a right bill or a wrong bill on principles of liberty. He says, ask these questions when a bill comes before you. Where in the Constitution is the enumerated power for this proposed solution? What principle is the solution based on? That's one question. Number 2, does the solution call for free market answers or government control? Number 3, is this based on expediency, some nice benefit, or the lesser of two evils? You never want to say, well, this is the lesser of the two evils, so I'll pick this one. Then, does this solution make me more dependent on government or more free from its controls? If these questions are asked first, we can distinguish between problems which the government does and does not have a legitimate role to try to solve. So, I told you some of the sad news, and that is that not all of our legislators are liberty-minded or even care about our Wyoming Constitution or U.S. Constitution. I don't know if you guys have heard of Hillsdale College. Okay, well, there are 90 of us in the legislature, and Hillsdale College sent each one of us a box. And in this box was the U.S. Constitution, a reader. And this is what their students are pretty much commanded to read in order to graduate. It has all the great documents in it. They sent us the Constitution 101, meaning and history of the Constitution, and the Constitution 101 DVDs. I had taken this series before, so I didn't open mine. And what was really neat was each one inside was addressed to Congresswoman Lynn Hutchings, Senator such and such, House member, whatever. So they had each of our names put in these books. And do you know that one of the legislators started, and I wish I had started first, he just went around and asked everybody, do they want their box? And you'd be surprised how many of them gave these up. I got at least 2 outside of my own. And it just surprised me. This is such a wonderful gift with my name on it. And Hillsdale sent it to me so I could learn. And you know, not everybody wants the gifts we're given. We were also given from a church here in Rock Springs, 90 of them engraved to the Honorable Lynn Hutchings. And inside this box, with the seal of Wyoming on the front of it. You open it up, and there's like a velvet liner, and there's a facsimile of the first Bible that the U.S. Congress printed. Each of us got one of those. I have 2 legislators in my house because they didn't want. And it just surprises me how our founding documents are so belittled. And it behooves us as citizens to know what's in these documents. So when we're in session for 20 days for budget session, 40 days for a general session, you guys can know what's in here. And now a lot of you know how to read bills, read statutes, go online and follow what we're doing and hold us to the fire to use the Constitution. It's only a few pages. Let's tell you, if you're a reader, 79 pages, wonderful document. So now, to not leave you in a depressed mood, I'm going to try to say something good, and that is something good about your party. One of the things that I see the Constitution Party do, that you guys do, that the other major parties don't do, is that you vet your candidates. I think that is phenomenal. When I was running in 2010, one of your members questioned me for 2 hours because you don't always have a candidate in every area. So he could tell his friends that I'm someone worthy to vote for or not. But he did. And when I went to my party, they called me and said, hey, you know, we want to kind of talk to you about your decision to run. I took my Bible, I had my Constitution, I had this, and we talked about coffee for 15 minutes, and I went home. And I thought, oh, what an opportunity lost. And so I want to encourage you that even if you can't get around to every candidate, you may have a few people around the states, like I was telling you this morning, call one of the candidates, invite them over for coffee, and just chat with them for a few minutes. And you're going to find a boatload of stuff about them so you can share with the rest of your party. It's so important to find out where we stand on this book. Like I said, my first year there, I don't recall too many people using it at all. It stayed in the box, pristine and new. Don't give up on what you guys are doing. You're doing a great job in the state and in the nation. Be encouraged. The Constitution is a wonderful document, whether it's a U.S. or a state constitution. Now, I want to open it for any questions you guys may have of me as a state legislator. This is my first year as a senator, and it was a dark year, but I think I managed to get through it, and I'm going through committee meetings. So I want you guys to have an opportunity to ask me questions, and I'll try to answer them. Anybody have questions? Yes, Ms. Cole?
I'm hoping you intend to run again.
We'll see how the Lord leads us, because this is not the most fun job. It can be rewarding times like this, when you speak to young people and you encourage them to play a part. I know that our state needs conservatives, constitutional-minded people, so pray for me. Pray for me. Yeah. It can, like I said, my friend over there can attest to this, it can be a struggle. As I mentioned earlier today, it's like going back to school and being on the playground. Everybody wants their bill passed, and I don't have any aspirations on passing more laws. You guys saw this morning the statutes. The statutes, we have like about 11 statutes lost, and I would venture to say, outside of those who look at the statutes today, how many of you guys have ever looked at a statute to know if you're breaking a law? Every session we're making one new law after the other, and those books are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And some people, let's say for instance, they doubled the registration fees, and what was it, registration, and there was one other thing they doubled. And if you didn't know to get there before a law passed, which is usually what, July 1st, if you didn't get there before July 1st to get your registration, you were going to pay double. So I knew I wanted to get my registration done before that. So little things like that may have surprised you when you went in, if you didn't know that they raised your registration fees. The gas tax, that was the one we talked about this afternoon. They want to raise it again. And I mentioned to these the members that the gas tax was initiated, and it was only going to keep the roads in the condition they were in at the time of the bill. So that was 2013 or 13 when the bill would pass. So it's 2019 now, and that gas tax went from 10 cents, and I think now it's 24 cents, and they want to add 3 cents more on that to pay for the roads to still keep them in the condition they were in 2013, and then that there's a distribution in there, that gas tax, that 10 cents, 24 cents, whatever, a portion of that goes to snowmobile trails, ATV trails, and boating. And it's like, how many people know that when you go to pay for your gas, you're not so much paying for your roads, but ATV trails. I don't own a boat, and I'm paying for, and I don't own a snowmobile. So these are things that we have to keep up on.
Can you tell us a little bit about lobbyists in the state? You always hear all these things about, you know, the dangers of lobbyists. Do you find some of them beneficial to help you understand issues, or are they generally a hindrance and controlled by powers that you don't want to influence you? Or how do you view lobbyists?
Well, because I was one.
Oh,
I kind of know who's who. That kind of gave me an insight. You know who's who, how they work, how much money they make, and how much time they spend down there. I remember when I went out to lobby, I went and asked some of the lobbyists, how much are you getting paid? Because I didn't know what to ask. The group that I was, Right to Life and Wyoming Family Coalition, two small groups, kind of like this group, and one lady said she's making $80,000 a year. And I'm like, whoa! I was making 500. And I was there 6 a.m., sometimes 7, 8 in the afternoon, preparing things to give to the legislators. And sometimes I never see that lobbyist. Never see them. I was taught you always be honest. Always. If you break that with a legislator, you're done. And I guarantee you they will tell the other ones, don't trust that person. Being an honest person, providing people with good information, because that's what most of the lobbyists do, provide us with information. Like I said, we're citizen legislators. I don't know a lot about revenue. I don't know a lot about agriculture, water, abandoned mines, minerals. So I have to depend on not only the legislator, but when they want a bill to be passed, I have to depend on the lobbyists to give me accurate information. Sometimes they give us too much. Sometimes, like I was telling you today, we don't even have time to read what they give us. We have to go on verbal cues or trust our friends to help us. But a good lobbyist will come down, work their bill, be very diligent, come in the morning, stay all day, make a presence, write a little note out to each legislator, call them out, spend a few minutes with them, have a good stump speech. If you have a piece of paper like this is a good document that they created. Something that's bullet points, one page, I can look at it, pictures are awesome, and give that to me. Encourage me to call you, have a business card so I can get back with you if I'm really interested in that bill, and you can do wonders down there. Yeah. And I encourage you guys to come, really, I do. A few of you that are in here I've seen down there, and it takes a lot of time and energy, but if you want something done, you have to show up. And I'm going to say this. We had a bill on repealing gun-free zones. I don't know if you heard about that. And one of the members in the body wanted this bill to be heard in a specific committee because they thought the committee it was in was prejudiced against this bill. But you got to look at what's going on. You have certain bills. If I have a bill about gun-free zones, what do you think the most logical place to put that? In judiciary. Even though judiciary may not be a committee filled with your friends, you want them to be there. You want that bill to be where the people will understand what's going on. So, they tried to move the bill into an agriculture committee. Because they were favorable to the bill. Hey, if I could have gotten that done, I would have done the same thing. People would have said yeah. So the majority floor leader got up and said, you know what, we put this bill we thought was most appropriate. Let's keep it there. So we kept it in judiciary. The bring up the bill thought it's going to fail. So I'm not going to have anybody come to the committee and speak on the bill. I didn't know that. I go and speak on the bill as a senator and someone who signed on to that bill. I want the gun-free zones to be repealed. I had no idea why the room was so quiet. Usually, as you know, those rooms are so full you can't even get in to speak. And you usually spend how many? 2 hours getting public testimony. So then later on, that person, the bill failed in judiciary because nobody came, and it failed. And then later on, they wanted to do a special procedure to get that bill brought back so that the Senate could hear it. And when they were trying to do that procedure, it kind of came as a surprise. We knew it was going to happen, but it just happened on kind of spontaneously when we weren't really prepared, even though we knew it was going to happen. And the chairman of judiciary said, "You got a fair hearing for this bill. You did not bring people to come and testify on your behalf. So the bill failed because you thought it was going to fail, so it failed." And they wanted to bring the bill back into the Senate and kind of bypass any testimony. And I kind of thought, that's a dangerous precedent to set. Because if you want something, you're going to work hard to get it. And you're going to want everybody in the state to come and testify for your bill, no matter what committee it ends up in. So that bill, that procedure failed. So let's just say you want to look up that bill, that firearm bill. You may look and see that I voted no. I didn't vote against the bill. I voted against that procedure because I thought if we open the door for one thing that we really want, what's going to come behind that? So we have to be careful and we have to really think about what we're doing. And lobbyists could have played a big role in this bill, getting people there to stand on behalf of that bill. So those are things that, like I said, sometimes when we were talking about the bill detail where it tells you how people vote, you got to kind of know what they were voting for. So yeah, lobbyists can play a big role, and the more people you can have in any committee, the better. I was told my bill wouldn't pass out of that Judiciary Committee. It did, 3-2, and that surprised me. It didn't pass on the floor, but it got out of that committee because people came and testified for me. So if the Constitution Party wants something, get people to come and stand on your behalf. Yes, ma'am?
I know it's been a very difficult year in many ways for you, but I would like to get your opinion on the media. As far as being a citizen and being a voter, and in my case being a precinct committee woman, what can we trust? Who can we trust?
You know what? You can't trust anybody. The media, I'm sorry, I'm going to go on the record. Unless you're there and you see it and you hear it, don't believe one thing you see written in the papers. Not one thing. I learned that the hard way by having lies told about me that I was telling you guys today. Went as far as Germany, and with negative calls, name calling, threats, calls 2 o'clock in the morning. The media, I called them and said, you know what, you told me. And this is one of the editors of our Wyoming papers. They told me when I ran for office, Lynn, we've seen the way the newspapers choose you in the past. I've been here for 20 years. We're going to start with a clean slate. Woohoo! Great. No more name calling, no more lies, none of this stuff. So I was very happy. Wrote the guy a nice thank you letter, Merry Christmas message, and thanked him for being nice to me. One of the things that happened to me is, you know, when you're campaigning, you have to put paid for by such and such. I was on my way to Georgia, and I was preparing a mailer to send out to tell the people in one of my house districts, I'm going to run for Senate this year. I'm going to work them first and then you second. So I sent them out a mailer, and everybody looked at this mail. And then I get a call from somebody. Let me tell you. Lynn, a certain party is looking into your records. No big deal, go for it. Well, they found out that you forgot to put paid for by Hutchings for House or Senate on one of your mailers. Oh, gosh. Dang it. What can I do? Oh, it's no big deal. People do it all the time. Just don't let it happen again. So what, about 2 weeks before the election? Hutchings may be guilty of a misdemeanor on the front or second page of the paper. Whoa, what for? And if you think about it, Hutchings may be guilty of a misdemeanor. What are you thinking? What law does she break?
She's one of the
She
speed
is
limit.
no good. Right away, you don't even have to read the article. But it was that little mailer that I forgot to put my name on, that the Secretary of State told me, don't worry, it happens. But the newspaper printed it that way. And I lost that election. And it's like, gosh, guys, why'd you do that? Because that's what they do when they don't like a particular candidate. And when this year, the issue with the Gay-Straight Alliance, I called the editor and I said, dang, what happened to starting a clean slate? And, well, I have a daughter who has issues with what she wants to be. So the questions you ask those students, I didn't think you should ask. So the front page of the paper, Hutchings compares something to something and something. The young lady here, I won't mention what it was. And it's like, I never did that. Those papers aren't worth anything. Not even for the bird cage or the guinea pig cage. It's not good for composting. It's good for nothing. You know, if you're going to slander somebody because you can, and ooh, just so you know, Article 1, Section 20, the freedom of speech and press libel a true defense. Every person may freely speak, write, and publish on all subjects, being responsible for the abuse of that right, and in trials for libel, both civil and criminal, the truth, when published with good intent and for justifiable ends, shall be a sufficient defense, etc., etc., etc. So if you print the truth, that's a sufficient defense. But when you lie, I don't know. People tell me all the time, well, that's politics. You got to get used to it. You're a public figure. They can say what they want, and they do. They do. And it's up to people to, for me, I've given you all little booklets there, and in those booklets, you have a picture of every legislator in the state, our email, our phone number, and if the LGBTQ plus crowd can get my email, my phone number from Germany, people in Cheyenne and around the state of Wyoming should have been willing to call me, Senator Hutchings, did you do that? But they never did that. It was always, you did it, and you need to, resign or whatever. But the paper has a big responsibility to deliver the truth, but I wouldn't trust them unless you got it from the horse's mouth, is what I tell people. So talk to your legislators. I think that's important. If you hear or see something, call them. That's what I think. Every single one of them has their number in that book.
How do we find out where to go and what bills are up?
We went over that today. You and I can spend time with you going over how to read bills, how to find the bills. But let me tell you, what did I say? We had 200 and something bills one year, and we had that were actually looked at. What do we have? About 500 and something? That were
closer to 400.
put in the hopper, and
Yeah,
it's just like, just amazing. So there are so many I can show you, but you have to spend time. you have to spend time, and it takes time to go through them. It really does. But there are groups out there that you can get involved with that can help you, and we can talk later on how to get in on some of those groups where you can be a part of their closed group, where if there's something that comes up, you can send a message out all around the state telling people, hey, this is happening, so you don't have to do so much work. And there are doctors, there's lawyers, there are farmers, ranchers, all different types of people, military people that are involved, so that a bill may go past your eyes, but they may catch it, and then the whole group knows. So we'll get with you.
How about crossover voting?
Well, you guys know who that is, right? For the Republican Party, that's where we have the major problem, where during our primary, that's where we normally pick our candidates for a particular office in our primary. What happens is the other major party will cross over and file as a Republican that day at the voting booth and vote for the least conservative Republican, and then they can walk up to the desk and change their party back to the other major party as soon as they voted and skew the election. We tried to stop that. You would not believe the opposition to that. It didn't fly. They wanted people to be able to do that, and they will continue until we get a handle on it. Till we get enough Republicans that are real Republicans indeed in the legislature to say enough is enough. Yeah, you don't want that happening. Well, thank you for your time. I hope it wasn't too depressing.